the panel called 911, I need a break and a drink. Well, we've got Mikael here. For those of you who attended the previous panel, he's already supplied the drink. He's already had a few drinks as well. So that part is covered. 911, is that, I'm not sure you actually call that number if there's an emergency here. What is the number here? 191. There's no emergency number. Well, the emergency exits, I think, are over there. You all knew how you came in, and there is security. So in the event of an emergency, please follow the instructions of the venue staff. They are trained. They know what they're doing. Right? Thank you. That has been confirmed. I would like to ask the panel to introduce themselves, but we've already heard from some of them who they are. So I've got two additional questions for them. So one of the questions is, who are you? What was your first job in this industry? Because it tells us a bit of why you're in this industry. And what would you really love to do instead? Because I think that's a... So, Rade.
Hi everybody, Rade, Passport Production, Taxi Rat Festival, Deep Festival, sometimes Green Beach Festival. I would love to play football more, but I was not so talented. So somehow 15 years ago I ended up as assistant of stage manager at the smallest stage at Alarm Festival was called at that time, the demo bands stage. So somehow 15 years later, we still have the fun.
So it's production and football for you?
I still watch the football.
Okay, that will help us through. Mishko.
Hi everyone, my name is Mishko. Currently working at Skype Music Production, earlier at Avalon Production. I have started this long time ago, 1998, with working as a guy for everything, actually, on a show with the local Balkan star, Zdravko Čolić, at the City Stadium here. Actually, I'm civil engineer, never worked as a civil engineer. Since I have started this job, I kind of like it, so I stayed so far.
So you're thinking structurally.
Yeah,
that's your solution to a problem.
That helps me a lot.
You'll solve it.
Yeah.
Right. Spreadsheets? Spreadsheets? Excel?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Bodan.
Hi, I'm Boban from Ljubljana, Slovenia. Promoting Metal Days, Punk Rock Holiday, Overjam Reggae, Winter Days of Metal and Motor City Festival. My first job in a business, I would say it was as a studio sound technician. That's how I started in this industry. And I would like to be a professional cook.
Ah, yes. Nice, nice. Yeah, so you like quality then? Quality, that's what it is. In food, in music, you aim high.
Bartek, Woodstock Festival, Poland. I'm taking care about the booking and the production on the festival. My first job was in the same cultural center like this one, but in Poland, in my hometown, and I do there everything regarding the sound, light, and just everything, ticketing. And I'm a real fan of live music and of football.
Okay, so an all-rounder. Great. Mikael.
Michal, Pohoda Festival. I founded Pohoda in 1997. I used to be a musician before, and I'm still sometimes musician. And that's it.
So a creative as well. So we've got a festival, we've got an event here. Anything can happen, we can handle it.
What?
You're the musician,
yes.
you're the artist,
yes.
you can
yes.
distract everybody by just...
Yeah.
So between us, we can do everything. We've got an event, so anything can happen.
Yeah.
Any problem we can solve. Yes? Great. Well, in that case, I think we're looking for some problems. Who wants to start with? Mikael's just been talking a lot, so we'll give him a break. Rade, do you want to kick off? What some of your challenges you've come along the way? And I think for the audience today, there's some younger people as well. So maybe not just tell us what drove you to despair, but also how you got out of it and how you could laugh afterwards and how you learned from it and how that has taught you something.
I wish I knew how we get out of it, but we always get out of it. So It's part of the job. I would like to also leave space for the guests as a host, so
Ah, you're gonna pass.
yeah.
Well,
We
you
can-
haven't told me yet. You only told me the introduction. I heard you had an interesting engagement with Miss Amy Winehouse. Would you like to share?
Yes, actually, that was the problem that was impossible to solve it because it was not depend of me, it was depends of her. I was production managing her last show ever in Belgrade. It was 2010, I think. I don't not remember the year now. The problem was that she came on the show very unaware where she is and unlike to do what she was about to do. The show was complete disaster because she wasn't really able to sing her song or to do the show. But I think that they left her on stage 75 minutes according to the contract. So to end the show, took the money and ran away. Unfortunately, what happened after that, we all know. But it was very, very bad experience because when I saw her coming to the venue, preparing to go on stage, I knew it was impossible to stop anything to go bad. So it's not like breaking a barricade or I don't know.
She arrived in a difficult state.
Yes, in a difficult state, very difficult state. Actually, when she started walking toward the stage, she wasn't willing at all to go up on the stage. Her security guard and her production manager took her on stage, so the show started, and it wasn't a show at all. It was.
How did the audience react?
Not so good. Actually, we was lucky there because we booked Moby to play after Amy Winehouse, so we kind of saved the show. But during her performance, the audience were not happy at all. They probably forgot everything after the Moby show, but there were probably my difficult 2 hours in this business.
Did you get many complaints? Has it affected people buying tickets to other shows?
Yes, we get many complaints. Not so many. We had about, as I remember, about 500, 600 complaints for reimbursement. We did it, of course, for the audience, but having in mind that we had about 15,000 people, that was nothing.
Did you put a PR spin on it?
Yes, yes, of course. We done everything after that with the coordination with her management and the agent.
And did people feel special afterwards because they'd witnessed that? Did you get positive feedback out of it?
Yes, yes, yes. And actually, there was some funny stories of selling the tickets on the internet after the show as a special ticket. So,
have you kept your pass, stickers,
yes,
accreditation? Have you got it framed, or is it tucked away somewhere?
It's in the pile with,
with
all of them.
With all of them. Would you be more careful to book specific acts? Would this ever affect you, or would you do anything different in, I don't know, accompanying them or making sure that there is no substances available or anything different now?
Yes, of course, we are always careful about that, but you never know what will happen on the show. You never know how someone will react or.
One of my, I used to produce the Silent Disco, which was much more than a pair of headphones, and we worked with some very passionate artists, I think I would call them, and our rider was pretty simple, but I discovered a difference between a bottle of Sambuca or giving somebody a shot of Sambuca every time they ask for it. And it turns out when they're really busy DJing, sometimes they forget to drink if you don't put the alcohol next to them. And that was really a big difference for me, discovering that if I, instead of letting them have access to the bottle, made sure there was somebody supplying a steady amount, or potentially sometimes actually skipping the alcohol from a mixed drink, so saying, here's your Jack and Coke, but there was actually no Jack in it. They wouldn't even notice, they were so busy. So I've had to literally babysit people through the amount of alcohol or almost, or sometimes, well, I won't call it force feeding, but making sure that they had something in their stomach despite being nervous. And that made a big difference between going over the edge and just being hilarious.
Yeah, but you know, with big artists, you cannot influence a lot in that. They are coming with their crew and they are taking care of themselves. You know, actually nowadays I'm seeing in the riders that most of the shows are so-called dry shows without alcohol in the backstage. So probably they are also aware that it's not very good to take so much alcohol during the show, before the show, or.
Do you have some kind of performance clause in the contract? I mean, but in the case of Amy, you said she was physically she was on stage for 75 minutes. Is there anything about the level of show that you can't quantify?
No, they can always say it was my show. That's how I felt in that moment. So.
Fair enough. I think we've milked that. Is there anybody in the audience who wants to have a question about this? Well, quite unique show, I think, last ever show. Anybody? Any insight? No? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Boban, you work with different festivals, different audiences. In the last panel, you already mentioned you have the great honor of receiving a lot of English people at your festivals. And you mentioned to me earlier that your reggae festival has got a different vibe than what the punk rockers. Can you share something about the challenges on your festivals and how you
I
work
have
with
to
them?
be honest, we never had any big problem on any of our festivals. They all run smoothly, and except for minor things like headaches and stuff like that we never had anything. Yeah, but I have to say that unlike what the people think about reggae culture and reggae message, that's the festival where we have most problems, where the people are least, I don't know, tolerate and least, whatever, open-minded on however. It's just different, completely different than that what the people think about reggae.
Do you have any small examples, just little incidents or occasions that are atypical to what we would expect?
It's, I can't give you an exact example, but it's just the way how the people are. It's, I would also say it's maybe too harsh, but it's the most sexistic audience that we have on every festival, and also artists are like harder to handle than on a metal.
Are they divas, or are they divas? Are they expecting like, or what's special about them?
I don't. Since most of them are colored people, I somehow have a feeling that they already come to the festival with the idea that you are racist and you don't like them, which is completely untrue. It takes some time until they put down this whatever it is, shield or whatever. Yeah? But still, all those what I said now, it's just we never had a major problem. It's just funny thing that probably people think that metalheads are most aggressive or whatever, but they are not. They are modern hippies, and they are really lot easier to handle and more quiet than a reggae audience. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I went to Sweden Rock once to look at the festival, and well, apart from the fact that there was no perimeter fencing, really, anybody could just walk in, but nobody did. They were too nice, and there was all these big guys and rockers and rah, and towards the end of the night, I thought, oh, they're going to get really drunk. I have to stay alert. And they were so lovely. They were laughing, they were rolling down the hill, falling over. They were so drunk they fell over, and they were laughing and then helping each other up. They were just beautiful, friendly creatures. So that must be similar with yours. Yes. But it's a bit more edgy than at the reggae festivals. No anecdotes? Anything you can share with us? that happened, or is just be aware? Do you brief your staff differently then, or security? Or?
No, we have a same security agency that we use for all our festivals, because we have all the festivals in a row, like week in between. I mean, 1 week break in between and then the next festival, and we use the same production and same stuff. But we do change our stuff, our internal stuff, from festival to festival. We have more metal heads on metal festival, more punk heads on punk rock festival, more raga people on reggae festival. We are, out of our experience, this intern work is just working better. You know, you need to have, although this is a professional thing, you need to have fans in your crew that they are just driving force and this good spirit for each festival. Yeah.
Which is your favorite of your festivals? Are you allowed to say?
My favorite festival is the last one that we created, and we did it in this year for the first time. It's a blues rock festival. It's called Motor City, and it's combining blues rock and motorcycle experience. That's the one that I recently like most. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you. Bartek, have you got any anecdotes or incidents you want to share with us before I push any buttons?
We got some stories, and I think I should start regarding the Prodigy in 2011.
Thank you. I was hoping you would.
Yeah, and the Barricade. The whole story is that I started to work at Woodstock in 2011, and I get the whole festival to booking. Every slot was empty without the signed already the Prodigy band. We exchanged some emails, of course not about the Barricades, because I focus only on the production. They get the signed contract with the Barricades, you need to know that. I don't remember the name of the lady which worked before me regarding the booking and signed the all paperwork, because I never met her. And they came to the festival day before, because day before there were the same production team during the Halloween show as the production manager of the Prodigy. They came to the festival, check dressing room, check the stage, check situation under the stage. They completely see that there are no barricades. And after that, 4 hours later, when we shaked each other, we hung at each other, we were really happy. For me, it was really something big, you know. I came from this kind of cultural center and get one of the biggest festival in Europe. But after the meeting with the production, everything was okay. And after that, after the midnight, after the 4 hours after our meeting, I got the call. They will not play the show without the barricades. And for me, it was like a storm, something like what I should do. We get a long conversation with the production manager, and we decide in the end, we will build the barricade only for their show. The problem by their side was that they don't believe we will build the barricade during the show before the Prodigy, because in this size of festival, it's impossible. And from the beginning of the next day, when the Prodigy should play, played at Woodstock, we get from the beginning talk only about the barricades. You need to build them now on the beginning of the festival before it starts. You will don't build it. Of course, we get the meeting with the police, firemen at our department, and we told in this size of festival and in this type of safety, we don't use it, and it's much better. But they don't want to listen. And finally, when they came to the site, they waited for the barricades. And before the show, my boss, as you see on the videos in the previous presentation, says to the audience during the gentleman show, before the gentleman show, because he announced the gentleman show and says, please, we want to ask you something, because we want you to make 2 step backs, because we will build the barricades because the band wanted. We don't get any problem with that. People go 2 step backs and we build the barricade during the show. But it's, you know, it's really stressed when you don't know what you do. Honestly, I go to sleep for 3 minutes because I go sleep day before, and when I just close my eyes, I get the phone regarding the production of the Prodigy. Yeah?
So why did you not just build them up that night? And have them there the whole day, because that would have taken some pressure off.
Only this band wants the barricades. If they wanted,
But
okay.
would the other bands have objected to it? Or
No,
would it-
no problem. No problem with Airborne, no problem with the Gentleman. Of course, the band after the Prodigy, the Wonky One Polish production, get the barricades because it's stupid to reinstall the barricades after the show. But the funny thing is that my boss says to the audience they need to step back. We build the barricade. And the first question to the production manager of the Prodigy was, those barriers are okay? It's a good line, yes? He says...
So did the audience step back forward?
Yeah, yeah.
And they did actually touch the barriers. Did it change the atmosphere in the crowd? Or?
The problem was that there were too big pressure on this barrier because we get much higher stage, and without the barricades there is a gap between the in front of the stage. With the barricades, people were really. We use firemen, we use water machines to make less warm those people, for example, in the front. We get much more security than normal festival to take them into the pit, for example. And as I remember, they don't allow to record anything on the festival. And during the show, the tour manager talked to me, "Why we are not filming it? We need to film. This is the biggest show ever. Please film it." And sadly, our system needs to one half hour to turn on regarding the recording. So we got only 15 last minutes of the show, and it was really not okay for us with the barricades. We feel that people completely it's not good during the festival. We saw the people who were a little bit crushed by the barricades, so it was a problem, and the same problem we saw, and the band also saw.
So you've never had barricades
no,
ever
after that
again?
we never built the barricades.
And other American bands now, are they okay with it?
Not American band, no. American production are really perfectly for us. I really don't get any problem with American band. The second problematic band, as I know you also get the problem, is left side band Escape from Spain. Completely crazy production. They don't listen anything about the traffics. They don't want to listen. They need to be early. They get analog systems, everything analog systems. So they need to, make a completely different sound check. And I got the call from my drivers. The band don't want to go outside from the hotel. I called to the tour manager and says, "You need to go out right now because you will be not on time regarding the sound check." They played a last sound check. Our festival is also a TV production, so we need to start every show on time. So they came only for 5 minutes of the line check. And then when the lady, the production manager, says we need to make a longer sound check, I says let's split everything. We are not making the sound checks. You can go to your dressing room and you will play the show or you will not play. And they were really rude all day. They speak in Spanish, little less English. They don't understand completely anything. And before the show, they are trying to say us because they don't do the proper sound check, and we get the 20 minutes of line checks only on the festival. Quick changeovers. So they trying to make the line check longer, and says if they will not make a line check longer, they will not go into the stage because they are not ready. So my boss announced the show. After the 20 minutes, they come in the stage and play the concerts. In 5 minutes, they do their job on the monitor on the VOH. So everything was good. And the funny story is that in the end, when the whole festival is going sleep, all artists go away. The last band which were on the site was Escape. And we get from them 2 buses, one 8 pieces and second one 8 pieces for whole crew. And when I'm closing my container, my production container, I'm going to sleep. They're coming to me and they says, "We need one big nightliner. We don't want the 2 splitted buses." What? We need one nightliner. I close the door and say goodbye. If you want, you can go home. If not, you don't need it.
So they're still there?
Yeah, no, they're not still there. We got completely different point of view about the festival. Yeah, this year we got 2 problems. First, with the Nothing But Thieves, because they were ill, they were poisoned. So there were a problem. They did not knew they will be ready to play the show. For them, which was the top of the show on the tour. But they wanted to do it, and we find the medics for them, medicaments, everything. But after when they fly from the Paris to the Berlin airport, Tegel, they saw they don't get their equipment. They don't get the floors for the guitarists, etc., etc. And we need to collect from all over the festival, other bands, baby bands, effects, everything. Frank Turner also helped them. So the show was going on. And they were really happy. Of course, they were sick. Some of them go after the show to the hotel immediately. The guitarist, for example, go to the party, to the festival audience, and he go to the taxi to the hotel after the festival.
I see you nod a lot, Rade. I think, are there any? We'll come back to you. Are there any bands that didn't want to go on, went on delayed, run over? Have you ever cut anybody off? Do you never ever want specific bands coming ever again? How?
No, not really.
But you're nodding.
We always
so
solve everything. Artists are different. We have to respect them, to try to meet their points, their goals. Everybody has different
what's the strangest thing you've ever done to convince somebody to go on stage?
So many strangest things, I think. But
give us three.
No, I wouldn't say some specific. But I think all of us here, we all saw a lot of situations, a lot of drug overdoses, a lot of breaking barriers, a lot of fights, everything. But the thing is, the show must go on. Yeah.
The show
so.
Must go on.
I remember maybe once, it's not a show that we organized, but for example, I was a production manager of a big international act. We played a show in Istanbul in Turkey. And can you imagine that a huge stage of maybe 20 meters and the roof, the truss, in more than 10 points was connected not with pins, but with the plastic wrap. You know. I've seen that. That's one of the few times when I said, no show if this is not...
And they fixed it?
They fixed it. But it was really crazy. It's really a huge stage. And the answer from the local production was like, but we've done this 100 times.
Yeah, that's the worrying part, isn't it?
And you have to solve it. You know, artists want to play. You have millions problems, but this is really a serious one, you know? Yeah. And they have to solve it.
And who do you solve it with? Is it
with the local guys and everything? At the end, it was still raining through the roof at the guitar player, and we got the most logical explanation from the owner of the PA and local production. We said, like, come on, let's fix this. Okay, the roof is okay, but the guitar player, it's raining in the pedal board, you know? And the guy was like, oh,
just move the pedal.
Move him 2 meters left, it's okay.
Yes.
And it was a huge show. It's not some small local.
Yeah, that's so how...
It happens. But we have to deal with those things. Yeah. I think it's most important how you deal and to make some kind of solution.
Yeah, that's
Otherwise, we can all tell millions of stories. Okay, once a really famous international actor DJ, I forgot to put a mobile toilet in the backstage, so she had to go in the toilet in the wood nearby. But it happens.
I thought you were going to say you forgot to put the USB in, but...
Where is the toilet? Oh, somewhere here.
Did anybody have to carry her, or was she able to...
She went by herself.
Oh, there we go.
It's okay.
That is good. Yeah, I remember getting a call from our team in Australia, Silent Disco team, where they said, this is the same contract and rider as usual, is it? It's like, yeah, because there doesn't seem to be a roof. I was like, well, we asked for a waterproof venue because these headphones and rain really don't go together. And their answer was, well, it's not going to rain.
It's not going to rain.
It's like, well, okay, we play until it starts to rain. Yeah. Not that show, but it was sorted for the next show, yes. But similar, same tour, which I was tour managing from my bed in the Netherlands, as they managed to squeeze a local tour manager in instead of paying for hours, was... a call saying, yes, it seems that we have only one pallet of the freight. We have half of the headphones, and our show's ready in 12 minutes, in 12 hours, sorry, not minutes. And the freight company had stored it in between a few gigs for us, and then just send one of the pallets. But the great thing was, I worked with a great freight company that was based in the UK. I called the emergency number, and all I heard later is that it was solved. I don't know how, I never saw a bill for it, and I think working with people you know, people you trust, companies you know and trust, for me has always been a valuable way to solve things. Mikael, have you sobered up from your first panel? Because we've got serious topics to talk about, serious issues as well. We met through Silent Disco at Pahoda Festival, which was great. You had a beautiful tent full of screens, and I think Marlboro was sponsoring, and all my team were extremely heavy smokers. So they were amazed by the fact that there were free cigarettes everywhere. I remember that. We spoke on the phone because we were really worried that our equipment was going to get stolen or damaged. So we sorted out that the van was somewhere safe. We packed up all our equipment after the show, put it in the van, I would say overnight, but it was during the day because the show was late at night. And then the next day we went back on stage. Everything was great. And then I got a call or a text the next day from my team saying something terrible has happened to the festival. It's
Yeah, so you were there at 2009?
I wasn't there. I was, again,
You
on
were
the
there.
other end of the phone. I had too many people in the field to be in one field.
Yeah, you know, there are some funny stories, of course, like when we had first time some special cider on the rider. We didn't know, we didn't find that cider around the country. We didn't find it in Austria, in Germany, So we gave to the dressing room the most cheap apple wine which homeless people drink in our country. And the artists were so happy that they asked us for more bottles, so we gave them some more bottles, and we were like, wow, we are very proud of our cheap apple wine. And there are many stories like this, like also we have problems with drunk artists. Shane McGowan, when he came to Trencin, he was so drunk that he was dead in hotel room, and I called my father, he's a doctor of internal medicine, and I asked him, please send your friend to save the show, and he sent some young doctor, and Shane finally played. But I asked the doctor what you did, and he said, oh, it was such a weird cocktail which I put to him, but he did it. So sometimes we can solve problems, but we had also some serious happenings at our festival. We had stage collapse in 2009, and this is what you mentioned. And it was not easy to go through it. It was something we had to, we decided to stop the festival and to evacuate the festival. It was on Saturday afternoon, and we fenced the remains of the tent. One guy died on site, and one girl died 3 months later. And so we stopped the festival, and then we were dealing with or consequences.
And was this an eye-opener? Have you learned, and you shared your information? Because that's what's happening at a lot of these conferences. People share information and help each other learn and feel that they're not alone in dealing with all these challenges. So how
yes,
are you gonna
just of course, we speak about it because I think it's important to speak about it. We are also part of Health and Safety Group within Europe, and we did presentations. We are like very active in all debates about health and safety issues, and I don't think that it's clever not to have barriers. For example, this is the topic we have for years now, but I don't think it's good because also Pope has barriers when he has a mass. It's not about.
I was there when at the Yes Group in Groningen when Polish Woodstock did the presentation, and there were some very well established health and safety security guys from festivals who've been working around the world for years, studying crowd management, and they were standing in the back of the room, and one of them, and I know well, and first his foot started tapping, then his leg started trembling, then he went orange, then he went red, he went purple, he was sweating. He left the room during the presentation of Polish Woodstock. He could not handle the fact that there were no barriers, and that you believe, and I guess have shown for many years, that up to this point it has worked. I think that's what I can say about it. Have they attended Polish Woodstock? Have they been there? Have you?
From the health and safety group,
Yes,
people.
yeah.
I don't remember. I'm not sure, but I'm sure we get some guests from the USA, because 2 years ago we won the award for from the Music Expo Los Angeles for the best promoter, international promoter about the festival, and we get some guests from USA with Sad Bisla in the head, and Michael Chuck from the Australia, the biggest promoter in Australia. And after their visit, they saw everything. They says you're making completely different festival with completely different spirit, and do it your way. If you want it and you feel you are doing it best. When we get some situation, for example, we want to go with the consoles to the folk position. We're using a peace patrollers. If a visitor see a peace patrol guy, he need to move left. If they are seeing, we get also special points on the festival into the audience, where are still the medics, where our patrollers are. So we are making completely different point of view and different safety system. This year on Groningen, I spoke with Chris Kemp, and this year we will be with my friend Radek, who is preparing whole health and safety at Woodstock with the police, with everything. He's responsible for everything. We will get a 1 hour presentation this year, so maybe this will be
I have to come to that.
a fresh point of view, because we will not only focus about the barricades, but we will focus all system.
Yeah, the barricades.
About the GPS system, everything. Yes, so it will be really something interested, I think, for those people, because I think it's really interesting to hear about something completely different, completely different way. Maybe they will do ourselves the festival. Yes, we are not telling you need to make a festival without barricades. I think in Poland, if any other festival will make the festival without barricades, and they don't get, for example, this kind of crowd management as Jurek is making, or they will not. They are not the festival 25 years old with the same rules. I think it will not work.
I've seen barriers not work, but those were the wrong barriers.
Yeah.
I mean, I need to find a beautiful picture. Again, silent disco. This was at Tea in the Park. Now, you deal with English audience, Scottish audiences are a little bit different again. A bunch of guys who were so enthusiastic about the DJ. Normally silent disco audiences just dance away, they don't really focus on the stage that much. So there was Bike Rack, which is the ones where you can basically lean on, put your foot through. And I have this beautiful photo of 4 guys just cheering on the DJ, and in the photo the fence is already at a 45-degree angle because they were in the middle of falling over. I can't remember what happened. It didn't matter. They were drunk. They were fine. But so you can only do it if you do it right.
I would like to say we are not using the barricades on the main stage. On the second stage, where is much smaller capacity, we are using the Mojo barricades, of course, and the 10th stage too. So it's only about the main stage at Woodstock.
Fair enough. We've had some.
Sorry, Sitka, you just asked me what we learned and what we are sharing. So I just wanted to finish the sentence. What we learned is that you can't guarantee 100% safety, never. And safety was our priority also before, but it happened because our supplier didn't do their work properly. It was wrong tent. It was not tent which you can erect without side walls, and it was erected. Plus, it was not fixed well because we put all remains of the tent to expertise. So what was our lesson was that we didn't allow the supplier to take the remains of the tent away. It was a very important thing, very important step in the whole process, because the remains of the tent, they stayed in Slovakia, and there was the Court of Trenchin. They found one institution, and they did investigation on it, and it was we didn't know how it will end, but at the end it ended with results and with suing the supplier. The second important thing was that we received very good response and very big support from audience, from artists, and also from authorities. Including police, fire department, etc. So it was very important, and that's why we decided to continue. The third important thing was that we established some steps which we use till now. We have now two independent companies which are controlling each structures, documentary and also how it is erected and how it is fixed, etc. The fourth important thing was that since 2010 we have meteorologists on site, because I think it's very important, mainly if you do summer festival and mainly if you do it in region like Trenčín, because it's very specific. I don't want to go too deep in details, but in summer the thunderstorm can be created in 30 minutes and it can go 1 kilometer aside of your site, but it can go also through your site. So this is very important, and we are dealing with them all the festival. And the last thing was very important, that we were dealing after the tragedy with everything, mainly with injured people and also with families who lost their kids there. But we forgot, or I forgot to deal with the team. And this was we were not able to continue till December, and in December I was still feeling that it's not there, and we asked psychologists to come, and we had therapy, like group therapy, and that was very important step for the team. So if something like this will happen, I don't wish it to anyone on the planet, but if something like this will happen in future, my advice is not to forget about your team. And then after, the therapy was amazing, in sad way, in good way, but after that we were able to start to work again as a team and to start to work on next year edition.
Yeah, I think that's a message. Sorry, it's gone a bit serious. I hope you don't mind, because we're here to learn as well, I think, from each other. Bartek.
I would like to end. That's what you said. You can't be prepared for everything. You can't get your procedures. We, for example, day before the festival, make a simulation of the terrorist attack with the police. And some artists came from the Berlin Tegel and need to go to the hotel in the other cities. They were surprised the city is closed. They can't. Everywhere is police. We're trying to be prepared for some situations, but you can't be prepared for everything. If you will get a guy with the gun before the entrance of the festival in the ticketing, he will be there, and you can't do anything with that. So you can do your best, but the situation is situation. It's alive. Yeah. You will use your procedures, but you don't know how it will work, of course, in the real life. So
there's a lot about, you can do a lot about planning, but I think at some point the contingency planning in the preparation involves also what you do after the event in the case something goes wrong. I got asked the other day, somebody had never heard of a crisis communication plan. Who does the communication when something goes wrong? You've got one.
We got it on the screens. We got it on the delay towers. We got recorded messages before the festival. So we are prepared. For example, where we get the signal from the weather. The government weather company, we get the signal that the weather will be really bad, strong wind. For example, we are sending our patrollers, our special group, which are 24 hours on the field. We are sending them to take down all flags what are built or on the festival.
Yeah. Have you got an international audience? How many languages do you communicate in?
English and Polish mainly, but we got live translator for the
announcements.
For the English, yeah.
And Mikael, you've got English and you've got two
English
languages?
and Slovak, yes. We communicate in.
You've obviously got English as well. Yeah. Everyone, yeah. Because if I look at these Macedonian words, I'm absolutely lost. I try, but I can't do it. Yeah, we tipped on terrorism briefly. It's gone serious, but that is allowed. I spoke to Mark Harding, who's the head of Showsec, which is a big security company in the UK, and his team was working when Manchester Arena got attacked, and he said the same thing. The looking after the team afterwards, even the people who were looking after the teams needed looking after again, because they were debriefing the staff on site, and they were quite shocked. Has anything changed here in the region? Do things feel different in the last few years because of what's been happening in France? Because now it seems like violent actions are taking place in the music industry. Has that changed anything, or has everybody always been careful for these kind of things on site? Has it changed?
In Poland, our government really aware of the situation like in France and everywhere. For example, this year on the festival, we got special police forces on the entrances. We get the I don't know how to say in English, the blocked way, something like Z letter for the cars. And for example, the police get allowed if somebody will not stop in the control. Police were allowed to shoot the guys will go without the control for the festival, for example. So they make special procedures on the headquarters for the terrorists, for example. Yes, that's why we make a simulation of the terrorist attack the day before, because they wanted to do it, and we also know that it's much better if you're planning something or when you're not planning something. So.
People were complaining before when they were checked, and now they are complaining when they are not checked. It's the big difference, and what we sometimes do, we are not creating safer place, we are just creating feeling safe. Because you can't do, we are not James Bonds, and sometimes when I'm also at the health and safety conferences, some people are like acting like James Bonds, that we will deal with everything. You can't deal with everything.
Yeah, that's true. You don't know. You also not in the mind of the policeman, for example. If one guy from the police or security is crazy, he's crazy. So you can check it, for example. Yes.
Misko, you wanted to?
Yeah. In our area, people are getting used to the little bit more strictly security checks in the venue, but also the governments, actually, the police and all other departments are getting a little bit more, actually much more serious about that, because in the last few shows I had some special meetings with them, which was not procedure earlier. It was just formula meeting and dealing with the security guards. Now they are having some special meetings about the security after all the terrorism acts. So we're getting used to it, and it's quite good because I think we are increasing the cooperation with the police and all other structures, so I'm quite happy with that.
I think you cannot leave this terrorism situation to the promoter. It's a completely, sorry for the word, it's idiotic. It's something that it has to come from the government and from the authorities. What do we know about security against terrorism? We are running an event, and we do what they ask from us to do. We fill all the papers, and you know what I mean. So,
have the costs gone up? And
I know at our festivals we actually don't know what the police do about that. It's also kept secret from us. That's how it should be, actually. Yeah? Some things they do together with us, but a lot of things we don't know what they do. And I think it's right so.
Do you have to pay the police, or do they come themselves?
No,
or they in control?
No, we don't have to pay them.
But
what
they are in
I
control.
wanted to say, it's you cannot put everything on the promoter. It's beyond us.
I would say that the cooperation with the police and all the authorities and departments is very crucial, but also it's all of us. It's a big responsibility for us, because you know sometimes the police, they just deal by the book. They don't know much. I'm sure it's the situation everywhere. You know, they have their rules, they have their
understanding of what's going on.
Yeah. But last year or something, at one of the festivals that we organized, for example, I got a question from the police, which is really not serious at all, and they were making a strategy for terrorist attacks and everything. And they asked me, okay, our festival was something around maybe 10,000 people, let's say. And they asked me, oh, okay, what do you think, how many of your guests will be Muslims? My response was, I don't know, it's not written in there, you know, when you sell the tickets. You don't know. Okay, it's easy for them. Do you think you have any Muslims? Or you don't deal with these things in that way, you know? So it's our responsibility to explain them and to deal well with them to get the whole picture, you know?
If you can work with them,
Of course.
because you're saying you
I believe,
can't work with them.
everybody
they,
can. But
they ask us the same question, but we have tracking about which nationalities and where do we sell tickets. We had, in this year, we had 62 different nationalities at our festival. So we have tracking of that and we give them that. But as I said, most of the things that they do to make festival secure place, we don't know about that. They don't inform us, which is also pretty logical for us because if there would be some terroristic activity, it probably would come from the sources near to the production because it's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous prejudice to prepare yourself for terrorist act according to the nationality of the visitors.
I produced a conference for the event safety industry a few months ago, and I had to write a safety plan for a conference about event safety. So the people who were attending were, it was a minister of defense, a politician, all the heads of the major security companies, the security people from the big venues, and I had to do a risk assessment to find out whether how dangerous the conference was, how risky it was, and I just pulling my hairs out. I was like, are these people targets or are these people really safe people? Do we need to check their bags? Do I need to check the bags of the head of the security company from the biggest security in the UK, or should I not? It's, for me, that is a bit beyond my pay grade, I'm afraid. But yeah, prejudice is one of the hardest thing to do. I mean, you already said at the festival, the reggae artist, they felt like people might be racist towards them. Again, that's an assumption. That's not going to help the atmosphere, is it? So how are the artists?
It was reverse prejudice, I suppose.
how are the artists responding then to this terrorist threat? Are there any people? Is it harder to book certain acts to come now?
We book like between 400 and 500 artists each year. And I didn't get any contract or anything in a recent time where this would be differently as it was always until now. So I don't see any movement about that.
And then the last, you guys are really welcome to join in, but the last thing I've been wondering about is there have been some accusations of sexual misconduct in the film and now also the music industry, which has resulted in some headliners having to pull out of festivals. Is that something that you are worried about, aware of, being careful with?
This is something that I addressed at the panel before. Yeah, we have we put some effort and energy in this gender equality thing, and we book more artists with female band members or front women or women or just like girl bands. Yeah, we do that, and we also see that there are a lot of increasing attempts of rape at our festivals and also on the other festivals in Europe. So 2 years ago, we started with that project. We dedicated one part of the camp for single traveling girls, where we give them better security, and that part of the camp is lit better than the other, so they feel better. You know. That's something that we do. I don't know for the other.
But you're not worried of any artists coming that you think, oh, they might drop out, because I've heard in the news. That's all.
No.
Good. Well, that's good news, I think. Yeah, I think last round, your worst nightmare. What you're most worried about? What's the nightmare? Anything you're dreading? Anything you're trying to avoid?
Maybe not really a nightmare, but I think it's always, you know, the security and health and safety issue for the audience. We'll really take
That's what you're
care of
most
that. For me,
concerned
it's
about.
the most important. I think, you know, artists have all the management, we have all the production. It's a different thing. We really, I think we all of us, we create a really good, you know, stories. It's a good thing, festivals, concerts, and I think we should just learn from each other. For me, it was always good, you know. I always want to hear different examples. Maybe, you know, Bartek, most of us will agree that, oh, no barricades, it's insane. But I love that story, you know. They create something different. It's thinking outside of the box. Maybe it's specific. I know, maybe it's specific. Maybe their founder, Jurek, yeah. It's a lot of things in one, you know, but it's really important to share and you can always learn from the worst experience is Michal, you know, like people died there. But you know how we say, like, something's got to go, it's always like that. It's most important to learn out of it. Because if you do whatever, if it's not a show, if it's, you know, 50,000 people, it's a lot. People can be hurt or, you know, people even die from things. And it's important to talk about that. One of the main things, like when I saw a presentation of Roskilde Festival, for example, you know, the Pearl Jam show, it's a huge disaster, you know. But we all have to learn from that, not just to say, okay, it happens. It's good to share and to learn, and we all have to go and create, because I believe that all of us, we should be aware, even before we start working this, it's a huge responsibility. You know, you have a lot of people, and everything can happen. You can do the best organization, the best production, as I think Bartek said, you can never guarantee anything. It's our job to do our best and to deal with the situations, to be aware that bad things happen. It's part of the thing. You know, people come to a festival, 50,000 people, whatever, they have a great time, they have a show, but there is a team behind that has to do all of that. And that's our job.
I think that wraps it up, unless anybody else, do you want to have a go, Misha?
I will just agree with Rade. I think that health and safety first became our main topic nowadays. So there is nothing more important than that. Everything can be repaired, but if someone gets hurt or, God forbid, someone died on your show, that's something that we do not want to happen. So that's the most important. Everything else is more or less repairable. I had actually, with the foreign acts, sometimes you should not step back and just defend your decision, because I had one bad experience with Iron Maiden in Belgrade. They came early in the morning on the show. They wanted to bring the barricade closer to the stage. So because we had the ground support, it was impossible to bring the whole barricade closer to the stage. So they just made a gap, which was completely insane. The barricade was very weak, and actually it started to collapse during the support act performance. So I didn't defend my decision to not move the barricade, and it was close to cost me a lot. Actually, we strapped it, we put it bolts in the pavement. It happened at the end. The show was okay, but locally you should defend your decision if you are completely sure in that.
Yeah, well, that's good advice.
I have to say that we are running our punk rock holiday also without fences, yeah, no barricades. That's how we promote that festival. It's the only punk rock holiday only punk rock festival in Europe where the people are actually welcome to the stage and do stage diving, crowd surfing, whatever. That's how we do that festival. We never have had any problem, but we are building our stage with that in mind. So we are doing this from the scratch, prepared for that. And our condition is the bands that are playing on the stage, they have to be okay with that. We don't book bands that are insisting on the barricades. We don't have them. And it's one huge party where until now nobody got hurt or anything like that. But to answer your question, my worst nightmare would be something like what they had, if somebody would lose lives, but and I would and I would know that I didn't do anything to everything to prevent it. If it's something that it's out of my reach, I would probably live with that, but other way around, it would be really bad for me.
We get every year, I think everybody gets the same problem. In the contacts with the production managers, some agents, some managers, because I feel when I'm sending some emails about the information, about the traffics, infrastructure, everything, I'm sure a big percent of those people not reading those emails, because when, you know, our festival is big, but when artists came to Woodstock and they completely don't knew where they're going to play, it's, for me, it's completely crazy. They're not reading, and I think I'm reading every kind of email, and maybe I will not respond day by day, because there are many emails. Sometimes, you know, you get your something first to do, yeah. But I really feel sometimes some agencies, managements, production managers are not reading the emails. They are coming to the festival and they are surprised, or they are surprised about the traffics. For me, big problem. Of course, we get special cars with the bombs, so we are picking the band when where they're stuck. The city where the festival is really problematic regarding the roads. Many roads are closed. There are tunnels, two lower tunnels, etc. And I'm sending a simple map, really simple, for the bands. What way they should go? There is only one way they should go. Always, every year, some part of bands not going this way. They are blocking everywhere. They don't know where they are.
So losing artists is basically your ongoing nightmare.
So it's really crazy. I get the situation that the Apocalyptica came from Germany, and they came they came from the border, and they want to cross the other river. And they saw the sign that no big cars are allowed to go to the river. Yes, and they don't saw that there's other sign that the nightliners and big buses can go there. So they go back. They make a round with the sick band on the board, because the band were sick. The driver says that I will not go there. And I tried to explain him, everybody goes there, also a tourist, everybody, but he don't listen. He make 3 hour longer trip for the band, for example.
Okay, fair enough. Mikael, one.
So, quickly. I think that during these conferences we all agree with everyone, so I disagree. I want to disagree a little bit. I think that the barriers are there not to be against people, but to protect them. So I think that barriers is must from my point of view, because it's if you want to help someone who is in bad condition in the front of the stage, you can't do it without barriers from my point of view. It's the first thing, and also the stage diving. Okay, there are some people who are dead because of stage diving, so we are not allowing it. And I think that this is what if we can do, I don't think it's changing the atmosphere of the festival, but it's everyone's decision. Okay, my nightmare happened, our nightmare happened in life, so I don't have any worse nightmare. And what I have dreams every year, and the dreams are sometimes very funny. One of it was that we were building main stage very shortly, main stage in the garden of my parents. And when I was measuring it, it was not big enough just for main stage. And I said, where will be the people? Where will be the artists? Where will be the camping site? So the garden was smaller than just the main stage. So that was my dream, and I was like sitting there, how we can make it there.
That sounds like a nightmare. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for being quiet, I guess, and thanks, Login, for having us. Thank you.
Na prvi sprat ima coffee break, snacks breaks, after that how to build a festival with Vedran.